Hey, welcome to Funny Synth Noises, where I talk about the things that interest me, and you tolerate it for however long you can. It only took 6 years and a pandemic to get here, but finally, the long-anticipated Bauhaus staircase is out. I'm skipping my one class of the day for this thing, that's how you know it's been long anticipated. In order to force you to listen to me ramble for 10 minutes and boost my ego by giving me views, I'll go over each track on their own, then discuss the album itself. Don't forget that this is my opinion, and everyone is entitled to their own, etc., you know the deal. Shockingly brief intro aside, let's get into the fun stuff. I did a video on Bauhaus Staircase the song when it came out, but I'll polish my review here. This is a great opener, and a great first track to release. It leads you into the themes of the album with its look at art and censorship, and does so in classic OMD fashion, juxtaposing the darker themes with upbeat synths. I can't get enough of the synths, especially that bridge. Oh man, that is a good bridge. This danceable song gets you going and ready for the rest of the album. We could have had so much. Anyways, when Anthropocene begins, you may have a flashback to English Electric's overused synthesized voices, but fear not. These voices add another level to the song, and aren't actually overused. The synths go crazy hard here. This is more danceable than the last track. It has lyrics about humanity and climate change that honestly get a little lost in how catchy the song is. It's still my favorite off the album. The synths continue to be loud in Look at You Now, although toned down. Only a bit, though. Andy belts out lyrics of love, looking at you shining and wanting to achieve your dreams. It's empowering. Also, yay, Paul's song! Shame he himself isn't singing, but you can tell it's Paul penned. What is a GEM, you might be asking yourself? Good question. Once you get through the upbeat synths, notice the theme, you'll notice the, more breathy vocals. Thankfully, it's not like a certain 2010 album track, but it's one of the more explicit, songs on the album. Andy is strangely allured by this mysterious and perhaps deliberately gender-neutral individual. His whispery robotic voice comments on them, but doesn't tell us what a GEM is. Where We Started brings out the big synths again. Andy laments that you're lonely and your life sucks, but you can bring it back up. How empowering again. Besides that, I don't have a lot to report. It's a good song, and maybe I'm just missing something, but it feels average to me. Barushka is one of the softer, ballad-esque songs in the OMD discography. We needed this after the last 5 songs. It has a sense of longing to it, a gentleness to apply to a simple love song, but also a complex look at the world. The song actually comes from the Paul Humphreys 1-2 side project with Claudia Bruggen from Propaganda, and as a certified 1-2 fan, I can see the similarities. It's a pretty song with flowy synths and a sort of comfort wrapped within its fitting combination of instrument, vocal, and lyric. If you've been on the website formerly known as Twitter in the past few months, you know just how polarized fans are about Slow Train. Some love its grisly upbeat sound, and some cringe at how uncannily and awfully it represents Train by Goldfrapp and Gold on the Ceiling by the Black Keys. I am part of the latter. It pains me to say this, but Slow Train is one of the worst OMD songs ever released, and Pulse literally exists. The groaning singing and awful vocalizations physically hurt to listen to, and the instrumental, despite being the best part of the song, does little to revive this grating track. Get me off this train. Don't Go was originally released in 2019 with the Souvenir box set. It sounds virtually unchanged, despite word being that there was going to be a different mix. I mean, it is a little different, but not too noticeable. Nitpicking aside, the synths are as grand as ever, although a tad toned down from the bigger sound of the rest of the album so far. Andy's voice harmonizes with itself as he pleads for change and better days. The pain is palpable. It's a strong song. We got a teaser taster of the bass line for this in 2021? A long time ago. The synths unfortunately crowd out the bass line after the intro. Andy gets angry at the current state of society, because we do live in a society. Also, in the words of Depeche Mode, boys say go, and I don't need to explain any more on that front. The bridge calms down a bit to showcase some of the crispier synths and Andy's rage. Don't you dare say Aphrodite's favorite child is just a Joan of Arc 2.0 because of the choral elements. This song has more subdued synths, relative to the album of course, to focus on the lyrics and the choral bits, which is once again a needed relaxer from the energy before. Andy wants to kiss you spontaneously and unplanned, because you're the hottest thing on this planet, and are a child of the goddess of love. Wait a second. Goddess of love! Andy is unashamed of his desire, and his passion combined with the intense synths perfectly drive it in.
Generation after generation.
More vocoded samples open evolution of species, followed by more bright synths. All of the aspects of evolution and speciation and all those fun things I'm actively learning about in my human evolution class are listed off. It's the obligatory experimental song from the album, but does little to break the boundaries. We've had more left field songs before. Of course, that was likely not the point of the song, and something strange would have been very out of place. But I'm under the impression that if you're going to have a spoken word piece a la Dazzle Ships, you might as well go all out. Finally, the album closes with healing, and the sound of dropping water segues into even more loud synths. Andy croons the chorus and hits the high notes. We would love him for that. You feel the power in the entire song as this project comes to a close, leaving you with a reminder that you are human. And you've just listened to the new OMD album. Isn't life great? When an artist releases a new album, everyone instinctually wants to compare it to an existing body of work. For once, I think Bauhaus Staircase is an exception. Sure, you can say it follows the modern synth-pop of their 2010s releases, or the big music sound of Universal, but it deserves to stand on its own. Bauhaus Staircase is a near-perfect synth-pop record. Complain all you want about the long wait, but I think people forget that musicians aren't machines. We don't want a half-assed album. It's unrealistic to expect entirely new albums every year. This was worth the repeatedly pushed-back deadline. I'm well aware that I use the same few adjectives to describe the synth-heavy sound of Bauhaus Staircase. Just like the loud synthesizers drive in the point of the album, my minimal vocabulary can also serve to drive in the point of the synthesizers. It's peak OMD, leaning into what makes them so iconic. There is a strong sense of power amplified by the electronics. That being said, sometimes I feel the over-the-top synthesizers drown out the lyrics, which are just as important. As I mentioned earlier, while the synthesized voices reminiscent of English Electric are sprinkled throughout, they're not taking over. They just add another dimension without getting too much, you know? Speaking of the lyrics, it had been noted that Bauhaus Staircase would be one of the more political albums in the discography. The thing is, OMD has always had an air of politics to it, even if it were sometimes more subtle. You've heard Enola Gay, right? OMD dabbling in controversial subject matter isn't out of character. We live in a very divided world, and music is a great medium to express frustrations with it. And it's not like the whole album is political either. There's still your typical love songs and observations of the world that don't entirely criticize it. Maybe people are just mad that the OMD guys have gray hair and pronouns. Save for one dud in the form of Slow Train that I harbor a mildly irrational hatred for, the album is structured well. I enjoy how energetic it is, and even in the few spots where we take a break, those songs maintain the energy. Nothing feels out of place. It's classic OMD, yet new OMD, combining their typical lyrical themes and instruments in a fresh way. All the songs fit their length and don't feel too drawn out or too short. The only other criticism I have is the album cover. What is that? The minimalism worked for the self-titled debut, but now it's just boring. Those lines barely qualify as stairs. It's a petty observation, but I'm not wrong. I leave this video with the bingo board I made at the very beginning of the year and have been excited to fill out. Now it's done, and thus concludes the wait for Bauhaus Staircase, an album that nestles itself comfortably in the OMD discography. Word on the street is that Bauhaus Staircase is going to be the last album. Although this isn't entirely true, they just say that it's perhaps a comfortable last statement. It's hard to say where we're going to go from here, but I think we should just enjoy what we have, because this is a very good album. Please leave some thoughts in that wonderful comment section below, and I'll see you eventually.